Everybody, Vince Dowd here, the founder of hijackmind.com, and I'm coming to you today from Gothenburg, Sweden. I was just in Stockholm, and I'm on a tour here teaching entrepreneurs how to build their brand and their business. And I wanted to share my next video in my series of the consciousness and the awakening that I started with ayahuasca. So what I want to share today, I've already shared my first couple of videos, which again, I talked about my first experience with ayahuasca in Honduras, where I had more of a hellacious experience and a darkness, purging myself. And then I shared my second experience, which was very intense and a beautiful experience of my life. And then I shared the third video, which was just, again, a darker version. So then what I did is I actually came back to Florida and continued my journey in life. And I found out about another process of ayahuasca in Miami through the Native American church. But before I did that, I ended up in Amsterdam, and I did what we call mushrooms, magic mushrooms. And I had never done these before, but because they are a plant and a plant medicine, I took upon myself to go to the park in Amsterdam and to do mushrooms alone. And everybody thought I was crazy, but I actually did the same ceremony I would do in ayahuasca, which is I sat under a tree by myself and I kind of gave a blessing to the plant medicine and the mushrooms to teach me, to continue to teach me. And as I did that, it was really amazing. So I ate the mushrooms and I just walked around the park. And within about an hour, I started to feel really sick, kind of like I was nauseous, wanted to throw up. And but then I started to have these experiences. It's almost like, again, the veils dropped and I felt like I just reconnected into the web of life. I saw all around me trees, and the trees just basically were part of me. I felt like I had an umbilical cord that went out to the world on everything I was connected to. I didn't want to talk. I just wanted to observe everything, and everything became very magical. But I guess the one thing I noticed in my experience with mushrooms was that I didn't know what to expect. I didn't have any expectations, but I noticed that I became very quiet and everything took on a different meaning. It was also like multiple layers of sound. Again, there was information in the sound. Every time I've worked with plant medicines, I can hear tremendous amounts of information in the sound of silence. So the silence itself is powerful, but then when you put the notes on it, it's even more powerful. So I kept seeing that we have so much in this on this planet that we should be so thankful for, that we should be so grateful for. And as I walked, it was interesting. There was music in the park. It was a beautiful park. There were people riding bikes, kids playing. There were people drinking. There were people having picnics, and there was a group that was playing music. And as I walked around, I could hear some of the groups actually talking about me in Dutch. So I could sense that they were talking about me, but I didn't understand what they were saying. But I could just sense from some groups that it was about me and others it wasn't. And it was really interesting. And I don't know, since they weren't speaking my language, whether or not that's true or not. I just know that that was the perception. And then I sat down and I watched the birds, and the pigeons would come up to me and they would look at me. And I looked around and they weren't really doing it to anybody else. So it's almost like they sensed that I was connected. And they'd come up and just look at me. And then the bees, there was little bees flying around. And I was so entranced by watching these bees in the moment just live their lives. So I became very present. And as I walked and looked at the park, it was just really an amazing experience. It wasn't like fun. It was just a deep experience. But then I noticed something. As people rode by me on their bikes and I looked at their faces, I almost saw everything in their face. Like it would tell me they had consternation, they were happy, they were dealing with a lot of issues, they've had a stressful life. It's almost like their face was a book that I could read instantaneously, and you could see it like morphing. And I felt that people have a lot of pain, a lot of stress, and I just saw that as people went by. And then the interesting thing is it almost like dialed into the connection of other people, and you could read them. And I feel like that's there every day and it's being telegraphed to us, but we miss it because we're so distracted by, the news or by people around us or cell phones or TV or whatever it is. And as I walked over by a bench, I started noticing most people were pretty amazing. Even though they had stress or concerns, But then some people came over. I had a guy come over and sit on the bench next to me. Right away, I could feel a low, low energy. And as I looked at him, I could see that he was an alcoholic. He had been drinking, and I noticed this throughout the day that the people that were drinking alcohol almost like went down to a lower state of vibration where I felt like they were the type of people that could actually hurt you, and I didn't want to be around them. So they were putting out an energy that was very violent, that was very, you could tell that if you set them off, they would do something to you. And it was interesting because as I did this, it's almost like the mushrooms were telling me that alcohol is a poison and it causes you to lower your vibrational frequency, disconnect you from connection and love. And that's why it's not a good thing for society or for your body. And it was interesting because the plant medicine was showing me that using plants with the right intention, you can actually heal yourself and heal the world and start to work through things. Now, whether people do this or not is totally up to them, but that's the idea I was getting. And so I had compassion for so many people, and I did have some unnerving feelings for about 2 people that came close to me, and I felt there was something very wrong with their energy, and I didn't want to be around them, so it was very clear that I should pay attention to that. So I spent 8 hours doing that, and it was a beautiful experience. After it was over, I went back to the shop where I got the mushrooms in Amsterdam, and I was still kind of under the influence. And there was a group of kids that came in that were probably in their 20s, you know, typical party kids that came up to Amsterdam to, you know, party and drug up or whatever. And they told the lady, well, we'd like some better mushrooms because the ones we tried didn't do anything. And the interesting thing is there was like 5 or 7 levels of mushrooms. And I started with the most basic mushrooms. I think they were Mexican gold or something like this. And they had already done the 3 levels up, and they said they had no experience. So as I was still under this influence, I kind of asked, I wonder why they did not have an experience when I did with the most basic level. And it's almost like the mushrooms told me the reason they didn't is because they did not set an intention. They did not honor the process with a ceremony. So I know that I had a ceremony and I had intention going into this, not to party, but my intention was to learn and to explore and to understand. And therefore, it's almost like the mushroom knew that I needed what I needed. But if you go into it without intention, that's a positive thing, you might not have a great experience. You might have an experience that is mellow or nothing. So that was just some ideas that I got. I don't know whether or not it's absolute truth, but it was a pretty amazing experience. And this is what I did actually right before my next ayahuasca experience. So this was about a week before I went back down to Miami and did ayahuasca for my 4th time. And I'll tell you about that one on my next video. That one was truly amazing as well. And my journey continues. So I hope you liked it. If you guys liked it, give me a thumbs up. Leave any comments. If you've ever done mushrooms before, let me know. Again, I am looking more and more at how plant medicines can benefit us and wake us up and drop the veils so we can connect with each other, the planet, and life itself. Although you don't need probably medicines to do this, I do think it can boost you into that area, and then eventually, you know, maybe you move out of that just like the yogis have done. But to me, it's a little faster process, and then maybe it jump starts or primes the pump. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. Look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a fantastic day.